Hello, Phoenix here, episode 5 of Behind the Mask. Yeah, it's been a really big morning for me so far. And coming on here and doing this live is not really, I would say it's the last thing my ego wants to do. Though I have made a commitment to myself and that my higher self that I'm going to continue to show up and practice showing up vulnerably, kindly, unapologetically for myself, whether there is anyone on the other side of the screen or not. And so, yeah, today I'd really love to share briefly for a little bit about the fruitful darkness, which was the theme that was guiding the new moon ritual, ritual that we had on Tuesday. For those of you who don't know, I offer free online full moon and new moon ceremonies every month to support myself and others in working with the energies of the planets and the moon for our own growth, our own transformation, and holding that space together with people from around the world for praying and connecting and being in ritual to create something new for ourselves and our lives. So yeah, this week's theme was the fruitful darkness. And I'm really feeling that now, as I've mentioned in previous episodes, that usually Fridays I meet with my coach, who's an extraordinary human. He's been working with me for 2 years, maybe even longer, and so I spend most of my morning crying, exploring different parts of my own psyche, different parts of my heart, my soul, and kind of exposing these parts of myself, these really vulnerable parts of myself, with this the support of this coach, and I've made a decision to show up on these calls after that because I'm at my most, like, my softest. I'm at my rawest, and that's the point, the purpose of these episodes for me. It's like I want to make it cool to show up vulnerably and to show up in our hearts and to show up soft, unguarded, unarmored, unmasked. And so for me to, yeah, it's like, how can I be an advocate or an agent of change or an agent of creating that world for myself? And that requires me to show up that way for myself and in my connections and my relationships and here on these lives, which is a real edge for me. So this fruitful darkness, um, yeah, sounds like such a paradox, right? Like, how does anything grow inside of the dark? And what I've been exploring recently over time is that there's so much that grows in the dark. We as humans grow in the dark, not only once we're born, but actually while we're gestating. We're literally inside of the womb, which is a pretty dark, void space. And I'm pretty sure it's one of the safest places we know. It's where creation has kind of, the seed of who we are is grown inside of this dark womb, dark void space. And when we look to nature, so much of what we see around us is also grown in the darkness. Like a seed does not grow on the topsoil. in the light of the day. It actually has to be planted deep inside of the the dark, moist soil for it to like remember its true nature and actually crack out of its shell that I'm as a human cracking out of her shell. I know it's pretty uncomfortable. Um, and like make its way towards the light, and I feel like the darkness is something that I know being raised in a Western culture, the darkness has been something that I've always been afraid of. I had always been afraid of. Like up until even just a few years ago, I was quite afraid of the dark. Like literally walking into a dark room was quite scary for me because I thought there was something there that was going to harm me or yeah, something that I didn't understand, something that felt very unknown and therefore quite scary. Though over these past couple of years, I've really been um, engaging more and more with the darkness, like my own inner darkness, and also the darkness, like, yeah, training myself to be able to walk in through the darkness, like into a dark room and not have to turn the lights on, or to walk through a dark forest and like feel the fear that moves through me while like trusting in something deeper inside of me that's protecting me and keeping me safe. Yeah, so I'm now realizing more and more so that as yeah, like I would say I've been in the darkness for some time now. I've spoken about this multiple times over the past couple of months about really being in this like this liminal space of transformation, of recreation, of in somewhat of like a cocoon space of like all of the old parts of me really becoming gooey and liquefied and something new emerging. And I feel like, yeah, I feel really steeped in grace around this transformation that's happening inside of myself, and that doesn't necessarily equal kind of comfort and like exhilaration, exaltation of like this very uncomfortable process, though there is something so beautiful that I'm witnessing from the inside. And maybe it's not something that's recognizable to the outside, and that's okay, you know. Maybe me showing up and doing these lives and sharing generously of my experience, or as generously as feels true of my experience, is enough, for now. And so yes, this fruitful darkness, one of the things that I've been really committed to is allowing the innate intelligence that resides inside of this being to emerge, and providing me with as much like fertile ground to grow inside of as possible, because I believe that there is like there's an innate intelligence, there is an original blueprint that each of us have come into this world with, and it happens, though we also have to kind of work in collaboration to tend to the soil, to tend to the environment. It's like if I throw my seeds in a really toxic environment, they're not going to grow as bountiful as they would if I was to throw my seeds in a really fertile soil. And so what I find is that I've lived like my past life, like my previous version of living here in this life. um, yeah, like I didn't really have that much of a distinction between like what was toxic and what was fertile for myself. And over these past couple of months, I've really been working towards, like putting really healthy boundaries around this garden of mine that I'm tending to, and letting go of a lot of the toxic relationships and a lot of the toxic behaviors and toxic thought patterns and attitudes that I have towards life. And yeah, when I say toxic, it's just for lack of a better word, something that is not that is not um, optimal for my growth. And that's taken a lot of courage, and that's taken a lot of will force to create that really safe space, those boundaries to grow inside of. And yeah, it's really painful, really uncomfortable, to be walking with such unknown and such uncertainty, and to be growing trust inside of myself. It's like nature, I don't like when I perceive nature, to have the utmost trust. It's just like it's in its blueprint, it's in its genetic makeup for an acorn to become an oak tree, for a pine cone to like open and sprout its seeds into pine trees, a caterpillar to become a butterfly. It's like I look to nature, and it's very clearly defined in how something becomes itself. And so it's like I know that as a human being, I'm also destined to become who it is I'm here to be. But because I have free choice, I feel like that makes it a little more difficult, because I can choose to run from my destiny. I can choose to avoid the things that are uncomfortable, or I can choose to lean in, just the way that the seed kind of leans in to the destruction of its shell so that it can sprout and become itself. But because I've grown up in a reality that is like comfort, joy, happiness, money, wealth, like all of the things that, oh, those are so, whoa, that's what I want, comfort and happiness. And so it's like anything that isn't that, I've been taught to kind of steer away from. And what I'm starting to realize is actually to fully embrace and fully embody the comfort that comes of being myself, or the joy that comes with being unapologetically who I am here to be, and allowing that to become my reality also involves the breaking, leaning into the discomfort, leaning into the uncertainty, leaning into the unknown, which I'm getting better at. Though it's like every day I'm just reminded of how much more there is to let go of. Every day I'm being reminded of how little control I actually have over anything other than the way that I choose to show up and meet the uncertainty. And the more and more I'm willing to show up in the uncertainty, the more miraculous life also becomes. This morning when I was talking to my coach, I was talking to him about this very thing. It's like how out of control I am. And it's like even making a plan. Like the other day, we made a plan to go to the redwood forest and meet some friends to collect some cedar. And the plan didn't go accordingly, because we didn't find them right away, and there was all these detours and all these kind of signs that led us elsewhere. And it's just like, wow, really having to let go of my plans in order to let a bigger plan unfold, and to be part of this bigger web of kind of coincidence and creation that's constantly unfolding. And do I give myself full permission to enter into that process of unfolding curiously, rather than like, no, I got to stick to my plan, because if I stick to my plan, then what am I actually missing that's like talking to me, that might actually lead me elsewhere, show me another miracle, or provide me with another grace, or allow me to encounter a new person that was like, the person that I needed to meet or have that conversation with, so it's like, and yet that's terrifying to my mind, because it's like, oh, but my plans are the one thing that I've kind of got control over, as well, in this world of uncertainty. And so I was talking about it with my coach, who maybe you know I call Morpheus because I'm Neo, clearly. And I was crying because it's like, I don't know if I'm crying because it's so absolutely terrifying to be so out of control, um, to live with such, it's like, I know the depth of uncertainty that is surrounding me, that is inside of me, that is like, that I'm learning to walk with, and it's terrifying. And I cry because I'm so scared, and I cry because I just, there is no grasping onto anything solid other than this being and my choices and the way I choose to show up and meet the uncertainty outside of myself. You know, I'm creating solidity, I'm creating security, I'm creating ground inside of myself by being able to practice meeting with the discomfort, by being able to sit and just be still and listen and feel my feelings and have the cries or have the tantrums or have the inspiration that moves through me. You know, it's very unpredictable. So, was I crying this morning over this fear of uncertainty? Or was I crying over like the sheer miracle of this like bigger unfolding that I'm a part of? You know, it's like the miracle that exists in just being a creature, like living in the moment. It's like there's so many miracles, so much grace, so much grace, so much grace in being able to experience oneself in this constant state of shifting and transformation, and meeting the people and the experiences that come enter into my field of awareness. You know, that in itself breaks my heart. You know, that I live inside of a miracle unfolding in every moment. You know, yeah, and this happens. I feel like this happens when we enter into the darkness. You know, there's been so much, you know, the darkness is bad. That's where like evil resides, you know, and it's such an old paradigm. Like the darkness is so fertile. It's so fertile. And I'm really interested in how to continue embracing this fruitful darkness, you know, like to cultivate an even deeper capacity to be in the unknown, to be in the uncertainty, and to be with my tender heart in the face of the uncertainty, and to allow myself to just keep on growing towards the light, because it's just, it's natural. It's like, it's the law of nature. I'm here to grow. And the more I tend to my heart and tend to myself, you know, it's like tending to a garden. And the more we tend to our gardens, the more fruit we'll be able to reap. You know, it's like if I plant a bunch of seeds, which I know I've been planting inside of myself, for courage and strength and purpose and kindness and compassion and tenacity and being an agent of change and creation in the world. Like, these are seeds that have been planted in my heart and my soul, in my garden, you know, my metaphorical garden. And it's like, if I plant all these seeds and just leave them, like, there will most likely, a few of them will grow, you know. But it's like, what if I devote myself to tending to this garden that I'm growing in, the same way that I tend to the garden that's in my backyard, and all the vegetables and all the flowers and all the plants that need attention, love, care, water, sunlight. Sometimes weeding, pulling off the bugs, or weeding the weeds that are kind of, um, vying for that space. The same way that I'm like constantly tending, pulling the weeds. Like, what are these thoughts and what are the thoughts and the distractions that are vying for my attention? And can I pluck those to create more space for myself? Right now I don't really leave my house all that much. I go here and there. I go out to the bush and to visit some local friends, but it's like right now, can I trust that this is where I need to be, and that maybe this isn't where I'm always going to be, that maybe there is actually a growth that's happening, a ripening that's happening. And I do certainly feel that there's a ripening that's happening. And am I willing to allow the ripening to happen at its own pace and in its own timing, rather than this kind of like, I need it now, I want it now. Yeah, I do want it now. I do fucking need it now. I want to be who I am right now. And it takes time to season, to ripen, because I don't really want to eat an unripe fruit. I don't want to give you an unripe fruit. I want to give the people that I love, I want to give them like the juiciest, most ripe fruit for your enjoyment, for your pleasure. I want that for myself. And so this dance of really giving oneself the time and the space and the patience and the kindness and the compassion and the love and the perseverance to just keep on showing up, allowing the unfurling, letting go of the things that no longer serve, grieving the things, grieving the things that we may inevitably have to let go of in that process of growing. It's like I've had to let go of relationships and experiences that were not supportive of this current growth process that I'm in, and I don't understand why. I don't want to let go of these people or let go of these experiences. Like, this, so how could I live without these things? And yet there is a deeper knowing that says, actually right now you need to like stay contained and tend to this garden and trust. And that's so difficult for me to trust in like a bigger process, a bigger plan, that I'm not the one that's necessarily in control. I'm co-piloting, with a bigger source than me. And I really believe that. I really have faith in that, even though sometimes I just want to like kick and scream and try, I'm going to do it my way. Though something deeper inside of me continues to tell me that I need to surrender to something more intelligent than this mind, surrender to the intelligence of this body, to surrender to the intelligence of this heart, surrender to the intelligence of this flowering soul inside of me that is inevitably like moving towards her destiny. And can I, as the gardener, as the caretaker, the steward of this body, this temple, can I, as the steward, do whatever I need to do to give myself the most fertile, like lovingly tended space as possible? So that's what I'm here to share. That's my journey that I'm on, that I will continue to share, because I know I'm not alone. I know that each and every one of us is the steward of our own garden. And I know that it's really difficult to take care and tend to that garden as best as possible sometimes. And it takes a lot of courage, and it takes a lot of willingness, and it takes a lot of trust. because because I don't know. I actually don't know if this tree, if this garden, if this being will ever bear the fruit that like I'm I'm wanting to sow, to reap, you know? It's like, so I keep on tending to, because that's what I'm here to do. I'm here to tend to this garden, tend to the bigger garden that is, you know, my family, my community, my world, the people that I work with, the people that I engage with, you know. And if I'm a living embodiment of that, if I'm a living testimony of that, then it's like, you know, I don't need to teach you how to do it for yourself. You know what I mean? I just show you. I just show you what it looks like by doing it for myself, and trusting, you know, that the right gardeners are going to come into my life to support me to tend to this garden, and that I'll be led to the gardens that I'm required to support in tending, you know, so that together we can find our way through this fruitful darkness and like enjoy the fruits together. Enjoy the fruits alone, you know, because I'll eat that fruit. I'll eat that fruit, whether I'm alone or with others. And it's so much more fun to share with others. And I'm also enjoying all those subtle fruits that I'm reaping along the way that nobody may ever know. Nobody may ever know how devoted I've been to tending to this garden. Just like I might never know how devoted you've been to tending to your garden. So that's okay, you know. Like I get to I get to enjoy the fruits of my own efforts. And I have a feeling, I have a lot of faith and trust that anybody who comes into contact with me is going to get to reap, like is get, you know, enjoy the fruits of my efforts just by being in my presence, you know, because yeah, I'm an excellent steward of this temple, of this garden, and may I be of support to anybody who comes into contact with me, you know, to support you to find that courage and that strength in being the most impeccable steward of your own temple, of your own garden as well. So yeah, lots of beauty in the darkness. And so I'm going to finish here with just saying, yeah, may we each have the courage and the strength to keep on tilling the soils, composting what doesn't serve us, watering the soils, you know, like having the courage to be in the darkness so that this glorious intelligence that is already ours, like it's already ours, you know, all we need to do is just hold that space for who it is we already are to emerge and grow. Yeah, like may we re reclaim the beauty that resides in the darkness and see it as one of the most powerful allies to support us in growing into the extraordinary beings that we're here to be. Yeah. Blessings. Thank you. Until next time.